Day 73 in the war in Gaza, and the IDF is on the move, raiding homes of Hamas leaders and discovering and destroying massive tunnel networks. At the same time, Israel opened a direct aid route into Gaza from the Kerem Shalom crossing and redoubled efforts for another hostage deal. All the details from ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
Troops of the 7th Armored Brigade raided the offices of the commander of Hamas's Khan Yunis battalion and the vacation homes of senior Hamas commanders, including its Gaza leader, Yehia Sinwar. The IDF says it carried out strikes against some 200 Hamas sites in the Gaza Strip over the past day. The paratroopers brigade raided several apartments used by Hamas in Sajaiya and found firearms, explosive devices, and other military equipment. Also in the area, troops discovered a 15-meter-long tunnel, which was later destroyed in an airstrike. The 7th Armored Brigade are battling Hamas in the Khan Yunis area. The brigade reached the main square in Bani Suheila on the outskirts of Khan Yunis. Troops also discovered some 30 tunnel shafts, struck dozens of anti-tank missile launch sites and observation posts.
יצאנו להילחם בכדי לפרק את האויב שמעבר לגבול ולהחזיר את החטופות והחטופים הביתה. ללא הלחימה הנחושה לא נוכל להשיב את החטופים ולא נוכל להחזיר את היישובים בביטחון. עלינו להמשיך בעוז בלחימה מבלי שנסיט את המבט ממטרותיה.
Meanwhile, a humanitarian aid convoy crossed into war-torn Gaza through the Kerem Shalom border crossing. This was a first since the start of the war. More than 200 trucks filled with aid crossed the border from Israel directly into Gaza in the first 24-hour period.
צוואת הנופלים זה מה שמדריך אותנו, אנחנו נילחם עד הסוף, אנחנו נשיג את כל יעדינו, חיסול החמאס, שחרור כל חטופינו, והבטחה שעזה לא תהפוך מחדש למוקד טרור, הסתה נגד מדינת ישראל והתקפות נגד מדינת ישראל. אנחנו נמשיך להילחם עד הסוף למען הנופלים ולמען הבטחת חיינו כאן בארץ ישראל.
In addition to its advances on the ground against Hamas, Israel is also trying to advance its second war objective, the return of the hostages. Mossad chief David Barnea met Qatari Prime Minister Mohammed Al Thani in Oslo amid new efforts to bring about another deal for the release of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. Barnea also reportedly met with Egyptian officials. Efforts to resume negotiations to release hostages reportedly face significant obstacles due to Hamas demands to end the war in Gaza. The U.S. is keeping a close eye on developments in the war, humanitarian aid, and potential hostage deals. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin arrived today to consult with the Israeli War Cabinet.
They deny the kidnapping of our children, the murder of our grandchildren, the rape of our daughters. The new Nazis we face today will stop at nothing to destroy civilization as we know it. The World Jewish Congress was created exactly for these times like this, so every Jew can fall asleep at night knowing they are safe in their own home. We are a voice for the Jewish people everywhere. We are the World Jewish Congress.
And the IDF has revealed the largest ever Hamas attack tunnel discovered by the military. The tunnel network is 2.5 miles long and 165 feet deep. IDF spokesman Daniel Hagari visited the site. Let's take a look. ILTV's Devo Klein has the report.
IDF forces battling Hamas uncovered a vast concrete and iron-girded tunnel designed to carry carloads of terrorist fighters from Gaza right up to the Erez border crossing.
We are going to enter to the biggest tunnel we found in Gaza, the biggest secret of Sinwar, his project, his subterranean tunnel project. We're going to enter. It was a secret that we have revealed that was meant to target the crossing,
Raising or disabling hundreds of kilometers of underground passages and bunkers is among the aims of the IDF offensive as they attempt to destroy Hamas infrastructure.
Without demolishing the tunnel project of Hamas, we cannot demolish Hamas. Hamas has spent millions of dollars in this project specifically.
Just 100 meters south of the checkpoint, concealed in a sand dune, the military showed reporters the exit point of what is said to be a Hamas flagship project.
This is Hamas, this is why we have to defeat Hamas. And it takes time, because when we need to demolish this kind of tunnels and reveal and demolish, it takes time.
The tunnel ran down diagonally to a depth of 50 meters, or 165 feet, where it expanded to 3 meters, or 10 feet in height and width, with electrical fittings. The full length of the tunnel is 4 kilometers, or 2.5 miles, enough to reach into northern Gaza City, once the heart of Hamas government and now a devastated combat zone. On October 7th, Hamas used this tunnel in a deadly attack on the Erez border crossing between Gaza and Israel. For decades, the entry point of Palestinian workers into Israel.
They've entered the base in 2 different places. One of them is the main gate. You can see the results of the explosion. On the 7th of October, one of the places that took a severe attack is this headquarters, my headquarters, and the Erez crossing.
An IDF fallen heroes. The army announced the deaths of 5 soldiers in the Gaza war. The toll of the troops killed in the ground offensive against Hamas has now risen to 127. May they be of blessed memory. And moving on in other news, a new poll conducted by Harvard-Harris has found concerning trends among young American voters' views on Israel. While overall U.S. support for Israel remains strong among the younger generation, this is clearly not the case. ILTV's William Sharon with the findings.
51% of American voters aged 18 to 24 believe the long-term answer to the Israel-Palestinian conflict is for Israel to be ended and given to Hamas and the Palestinians. These shocking figures were revealed in a poll conducted by Harris Insights and Analytics and Harvard's University Center for American Political Studies on December 13th through 14th among 2,034 registered voters in the United States. According to the findings, 81% of voters overall support Israel, but when breaking this down by age group, only 50% of voters aged 18 to 24 support Israel. The other 50% support Hamas. Moreover, 1 in 3 people in the same age group believe that Israel does not have the right to exist. Yet nearly 84% of the respondents said they believed the October 7th attack by Hamas was a terrorist attack. This figure drops to 73% among those aged 18 to 24, and 3 out of 4 voters believe the Hamas attack was genocidal in nature. Though when asked if Hamas' October 7th attack can be justified by the grievance of Palestinians, 60% of youth aged 18 to 24 said the terror attack can be justified. Additionally, the poll found that 60% of the respondents aged 18 to 24 believe that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, and 76% believe Hamas can be negotiated with to create peace, despite Hamas openly saying it would like to conduct the October 7th massacre again and again and again. When it comes to anti-Semitism, the poll found that 2/3 of young Americans aged 18 to 24, around 67%, believe the Jews as a class are oppressors and should be treated as oppressors.
And joining us now with more on this poll and American views on Israel is Mitchell Barak, analyst and pollster at Kivon Strategies. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So it's important to say that the majority of Americans still view Israel in a positive way. The older generation is very supportive of Israel. But then you look at the younger generation, and I mean 50% say they support Hamas, a U.S. designated terror organization. So what's going on here? What's changed?
First of all, it's a Harris X and Harvard University poll. So anything with Harvard University, we have to really be scrutinized and take it in context, because even a call for jihad and for, liquidating Israelis depends on the context, according to the president of Harvard University, Dr. Gray. So once we've said that and got that out of the way, what's going on here is a lot of young people are very, very influenced by social media, because you see the older people are by and large supportive of Israel. They can recognize terrorism. But the fact of the matter is the numbers don't play in Israel's favor on social media because there are hundreds and hundreds of millions of Muslims and supporters of Muslim countries. And they are posting on Facebook, and many of those people that are living in the United States are related to those countries or immigrants from those countries. So these young people are being saturated on social media, on Facebook, on TikTok, of what's going on. And they're seeing really the Gaza side of the story, which does not look good for Israel. We had a lot of support after October 7th, but once we started to fight Hamas, that's when a lot of that turned.
But, you know,
so I wouldn't be so concerned with...
Yeah, I want to ask because, you know, these are the future leaders of the United States. How does this bode for the future of, U.S. support for Israel?
Well, it's certainly very scary because these people are supposed to be, not only the future, but many of the youngest and brightest. And we just take Harvard and some of the other campuses, Columbia, even George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and Princeton and some of these other places. It's a vile place for Jewish students. Jewish students are scared right now. So yes, what does this mean for the future? I mean, I do think a lot of students eventually, I don't want to say mature, but sober up. And while, they are supporting this very hot issue of, the downtrodden Palestinians and the oppressed Palestinians, at the end of the day, as they grow older and they get maybe wiser in the world, they do change opinions. And I think that's what we'll see.
All right, Mitchell Barak, thank you so much for your analysis today.
Thank you.
Experience the power of truth with ILTV News. If you're looking for quality content and captivating visuals, join our news community and become an integral part of our team as we embark on a mission to unveil the real Israel, dismantling the web of lies and misinformation that surround reporting on Israel. By subscribing to ILTV News, you will not only have access to the latest updates, but you will also amplify our message, creating a ripple effect that carries the truth far and wide. Subscribe today and help reshape the narrative, available on the web, Android, and Apple. And as the IDF continues advancing and rooting out Hamas terrorists, the people of Gaza are speaking out, no longer afraid of Hamas's grip. This is a clip we filmed earlier that breaks it down. Let's take a look. As the IDF continues its mission to eliminate Hamas, more and more Palestinian civilians are feeling emboldened to speak out against Hamas and its reign of oppression and brutality. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why believe me? What do I know? So don't take it from me. Hear it directly from the Palestinians themselves.
Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free!
No, not them. Most of them are not even Palestinians, and many of them don't even know where Gaza is on a map. We'll get back to them soon. I'm talking about real Palestinians, those living inside Gaza.
وإن الله على نصرهم لقدير.
And then there's this, Gazans who had to flee their homes due to the war. They don't blame Israel, they blame Hamas. And here a wounded man who has nowhere to go. Notice how at the end he's cut off, told to shut up and not speak out against Hamas. This happens a lot when Palestinians don't stick to the Hamas narrative. Even children are speaking out against Hamas.
يعني هم حطوا العرب بخطر، يعني هم جيت تحت الانفاق واحنا الضحايا اللي بتروح ناس مدنيين، يعني شباب مدنيه واطفال.
These are just a few examples of actual Palestinians speaking out against Hamas. They are the ones living in Gaza. They are the ones truly suffering from Hamas. Gaza received billions of dollars in aid, and instead of building a paradise, Hamas funneled the money to line its own pockets. Its leaders are billionaires living a life of luxury abroad. And what money was left, they used for building terror tunnels and infrastructure, not to care for their own civilians. They even admit it themselves.
نحن شيدنا الأنفاق لأنه لا نملك ما ندفع به عن أنفسنا من القتل والاستهداف هذه الأنفاق من أجل أن نحمي أنفسنا من الطائرات، نحمي مقاتلين من الأنفاق. أما القطاع غزة فأنت تعلم والجميع يعلم بأنه 75% منه لاجئين، واللاجئين هو مسؤولية الأمم المتحدة في حمايتهم.
So there you have it, straight from real Palestinians. Oh, and back to the so-called pro-Palestinians protesting in Western countries. You're not supporting Palestinian civilians, you're supporting Hamas. From the river to the sea, free, free Palestine, intifada, and all these slogans you like to shout, those are taken directly from Hamas. They call for genocide of Israelis and more attacks like October 7th. You live your comfortable lives in the West, echo Hamas propaganda, and enable them to continue to oppress real Palestinians in Gaza. If you really cared about Palestinians, real Palestinian civilians like those we heard from, you would be out in the streets calling for Hamas to unconditionally surrender. Otherwise, you're not pro-Palestinian, you're just anti-Israel. And now, there has always been a special bond between Israel and the Christian community, and this bond is even more evident today. I sat down earlier with Pastor Trey Graham, author, radio host, columnist, and senior pastor of First Melissa, to discuss this special bond. Let's take a look. Israel is facing one of its darkest hours, but this doesn't mean there isn't light. Since the October 7th massacre, there's been an outpouring of support from Christian community towards Israel. And joining me now in a special interview to discuss this unbreakable bond is Pastor Trey Graham, author, radio host, columnist, and the senior pastor of First Melissa, one of the most dynamic churches in Texas. Thank you for joining us today.
It's great to be here.
So you're here in Israel. You've come in a show of solidarity and a show of support. Why was it important for you to come here now during the war?
Well, I come a lot. I'm here often. My wife is here often. Our family comes. We bring tour groups as well. But it was important to come at this time because this is what friends do. When friends are hurting, we try to stand up for each other. The idea that talk is cheap and actions speak louder than words. So my wife was here 2 weeks ago. She came for 2 weeks on her own to bring 7 different suitcases worth of supplies and had to go through all of the customs issues of that. But bringing things for soldiers, bringing things for people who are in need, it's our way to show that we really care.
Incredible. And, you know, I have to ask, sort of looking at the larger picture, you know, why do you think there is such a special connection between the Jewish and Christian communities?
Well, it's, especially for a pastor, it's a spiritual reason. It's a biblical reason. As followers of Jesus, this is our spiritual homeland because this is where Jesus was and lived and ministered. And so our Bible teaches us that this is the promised land. And Jesus, of course, was a Jew. And so this is a spiritual background that's turned into real friendships.
And so I want to ask, you know, can you share with us perhaps a particular meeting or event from your time here in Israel that really stands out for you?
Well, I've been here for a week so far, and I've been all over the country. I went to Sderot, which is empty.
Yeah.
I went to the site of the musical fest where the massacre occurred, and it was a very, very somber place. And of course, I've seen all the news reports and watched your program as well, and have seen the terrible things that happened there, and looked into the Gaza from the border there in Sderot, went all the way to the northern border and saw into Lebanon where the threat from Hezbollah is there. So I've been all over the country in the last week and continuing to meet with friends. And we are praying for, of course, the hostages to be released. We're praying for the soldiers to be protected. We're praying for wisdom for national leaders to make the right decisions. And we're praying for the people of Israel to be comforted. We know that this is a heartbreaking time. And so we're trying to do things, you know, on the ground, as you say, to help, but we're praying as well.
Incredible. And, you know, it's no secret that there's an incredible rise now in anti-Semitism around the world. It's reaching alarming new heights. And so now more than ever, Israel really is seeking allies, it's seeking partners. And so I want to ask, how is the Christian community helping combat this hateful phenomenon that we're seeing?
Well, we call it spiritual warfare. This is a spiritual battle. Anti-Semitism, hatred of the Jews, is not like hatred of any other group. It's, I believe, a spiritual battle. And we who follow Jesus, we who pray for the people of Jerusalem, Psalm 122 tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We who do that believe that we can either stand with the light or we can stand with the darkness. And that's what anti-Semitism is. It's the darkness. And so we encourage our church members to speak up. We encourage our church members to show support. The donations that my wife brought on her trip and I've brought on my trip, many of those donations were paid for by members of our congregation who wanted to show their way to help. And maybe they couldn't get on a plane and come here, but they can donate money so we can buy supplies, because we want to show that there is truth and there is light, and anti-Semitism is not of the truth or the light.
Absolutely. And you know, you said that you've been to Israel many times before. Have you been able on any of those occasions to bring members of your church to come here to Israel to visit, to see for themselves?
We bring tour groups often.
Yeah.
And we had a tour group planned for early in 2024 that we think is going to be postponed. But we bring tour groups a lot because we want them to learn ancient Israel and modern Israel. And we have lots of friends, including some of the folks on your staff, that we introduce them to, because we want them to see what Israel's like today.
Incredible. And, you know, how's the feedback that you get back when you bring people from your congregation to Israel to actually see it for themselves? Because a lot of time there's sort of this dissonance between what you hear on the news and actual life here in Israel. So can you maybe share with us some of the feedback that you've gotten?
Well, you're right. One of the questions people ask is when we tell them about a tour to the Holy Land, they say the first question is it safe? Yeah. And my normal reply is, I've brought my mom, my dad, my wife, my kids, my sister, my brother-in-law. I wouldn't bring them if it wasn't safe. My wife traveled here 2 weeks ago during a war by herself, and we felt it was going to be safe for her. So people are surprised or relieved at how safe it is. But also, there's a lot of cliches in the tourism business, like the Bible goes from 2D to 3D, or it goes from black and white to color. And they're cliches, but it's true. We want people to see what the Bible land is like. And for those who can come here, we bring them here. For those who don't, we bring Israel back to our church. All of our sermons have maps and charts and photos and timelines. So we bring Israel back to Texas.
Incredible. And I have to ask, you know, as a pastor and as someone who's here in Israel and showing your support, if you had a message that you wanted to convey to Jewish and Christian viewers who are watching us today, what would that message be?
Well, to the Jewish audience, it is that we who truly follow after Jesus and truly believe in the Bible stand with the Jewish people, and we stand against anti-Semitism. And for the Christian audience, it's the same thing. If your Bible teaches it, if this is the Word of God, if this is the Holy Land, the land where Jesus walked and ministered and lived and died and rose again, then this is the place that we should be supporting. And we should do that with our actions, with our words, with our money. And especially in this time, it's time to take a side.
Absolutely. Pastor Trey Graham, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today and for all the work that you've been doing.
Of course.
Hi, this is Joel Rosenberg, editor of All Israel News. Sign up for our free daily email for the latest news from Jerusalem. Go to allisrael.com.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Clear skies are expected around most of the country tonight, with lows averaging around 10 degrees Celsius or 51 Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow we'll see clear skies alongside steady top temperatures, seeing highs of about 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's all for today's news. For more updates from Israel on all your devices, check out our ILTV channel, subscribe to our ILTV newsletter, and don't forget to check out our new and improved website, ILTV.tv, with all the latest news from the heart of the State of Israel. I'm Ladar Gavelazi. Be well, stay safe, and thank you so much for watching.